Right now, somewhere, there's a teenager who just spent 6 hours being patient with a teacher who talked over her, kind to a friend who canceled plans last minute, and calm with a stranger who bumped into her in the hallway. Then she walked through her front door. Her mom asked one question about dinner, and she exploded. Slammed the door, snapped words she didn't mean, cried alone in her room 20 minutes later, hating herself for it. Her mother is standing in the kitchen thinking the exact same devastating thought every parent in this situation thinks. Why is she like this only with me? Here's what almost nobody tells either of them. That explosion isn't a character flaw. It's not disrespect. It's not even really about dinner. It's a nervous system doing something specific, predictable, and once you understand it, almost impossible to take personally. If you're a parent watching this, you already know the pattern. Your teenager can be genuinely lovely to almost everyone else in their life. Teachers describe them as respectful. Friends describe them as loyal. Coaches describe them as coachable. And then they come home to you and something switches. The eye rolls, the short fuse, the way a completely neutral question like, "How was school?" can somehow trigger a door slam. It feels personal. It feels like rejection. Many parents quietly start to wonder if they did something wrong, if the relationship is broken, if their child simply doesn't respect them the way they respect everyone else. If you're the teenager watching this, you carry a different version of the same wound. You know you were fine all day. You held it together at school, in the group chat, and every interaction that actually required you to perform. Then you get home, the one place you thought would be easy, and you lose control over something small enough to be embarrassing. Afterward comes the guilt, the private conviction that something is wrong with you, that you're somehow worse to the person who deserves your patience the most. Both of you are describing the same event and arriving at the same wrong conclusion. Here's the actual explanation, and it comes from developmental neuroscience, not moral character. The teenage brain is not a smaller, less mature version of the adult brain. It is a fundamentally different system under fundamentally different physiological load, operating in an environment engineered to produce exactly this outcome. Understanding that system doesn't excuse the behavior, but it explains it precisely enough that both people in this dynamic can finally stop taking it as a verdict on their relationship and start treating it as what it actually is, a stress response with an identifiable trigger, an identifiable mechanism, and an identifiable fix. Let's start with the brain structure most responsible for this entire pattern, the prefrontal cortex, the region located directly behind your forehead, responsible for impulse control, emotional regulation, and weighing long-term consequences before acting. Here is the detail that changes everything. The prefrontal cortex does not finish developing until approximately age 25, not 18, not 21, 25, which means every teenager is running full-intensity adolescent emotions through a regulatory system that is quite literally still under construction. Compare this to the amygdala, the brain's rapid threat detection and emotional response center, which matures far earlier and operates at near adult intensity throughout adolescence. The result is a specific and measurable imbalance. Teenagers experience emotions with adult-level intensity filtered through a braking system that is nowhere near adult-level strength. This alone explains a great deal, but it doesn't explain why the explosion happened specifically at home. For that, we need a second mechanism. Psychologists call it the safe haven effect, an extension of attachment research pioneered by psychologist John Bowlby. The core finding: children and adolescents reserve their most unfiltered emotional expression for the relationships their nervous system has classified as unconditionally safe. Not the relationships that matter least, the relationships that matter most. Think of it like structural engineering. A bridge is designed with expansion joints, specific points built to flex under pressure, releasing stress so the rest of the structure doesn't crack. Parents are the expansion joint. The nervous system has calculated correctly that this is the one relationship secure enough to absorb pressure without breaking. Teachers might discipline, friends might distance. Parents, in the vast majority of cases, will still be there tomorrow. So the brain routes the pressure toward the connection it trusts will survive it. The explosion at home is not evidence of a damaged relationship. It's evidence of a relationship secure enough to be trusted with the mess. Now add a third layer, the raw physiological load your teenager is actually carrying. Research on adolescent stress physiology shows that teenagers maintain significantly elevated baseline cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, throughout the school day. Academic pressure, social hierarchy navigation, identity formation, hormonal fluctuation, and constant social evaluation combine to keep the adolescent stress system running hot for 6 to 8 consecutive hours with almost no natural release valve built into the school day. Layered on top of that is something researchers call emotional masking, the continuous, effortful suppression of authentic emotional states required to function acceptably in school and peer environments. Masking is not passive, it is metabolically expensive. Every hour spent performing composure in front of teachers and peers draws down the same finite regulatory resource that would otherwise be available for managing frustration, disappointment, or irritation. By the time a teenager walks through the front door, they are not arriving fresh, they are arriving depleted, carrying 8 hours of accumulated cortisol, an underdeveloped regulatory system already running at capacity, and 0 remaining bandwidth for masking anything further. Home is the first environment all day where masking isn't required, so it stops immediately, often violently. There's a final piece, a well-documented psychological phenomenon called displacement. Under displacement, emotional charge generated by one source gets redirected toward a different, safer target when expressing it at the original source is unavailable or too costly. Your teenager cannot snap at the teacher who embarrassed them in front of the class. They cannot yell at the friend who excluded them from something. Those relationships don't feel safe enough to survive. So the accumulated charge waits and detonates at the first available structurally sound target. That target is almost always you. None of this means the behavior is acceptable. It means the behavior has an identifiable cause that has nothing to do with how
much your teenager respects you and everything to do with how much their nervous system trusts you to absorb what it can't hold anywhere else. Here are specific, evidence-based practices, one set for parents, one set for teenagers, that work directly with this mechanism rather than against it. For parents, Protocol 1, the delayed response window. When your teenager snaps, your nervous system will want to respond immediately, matching their intensity, correcting the disrespect in the moment. Resist this specific impulse. Research on emotional escalation consistently shows that 2 dysregulated nervous systems in the same room amplify each other rather than resolving anything. Instead, use a simple phrase, "I can see something's really bothering you. I'm going to give you a few minutes and then let's talk." This does 2 things simultaneously. It signals safety rather than threat, which is exactly what an overloaded nervous system needs to de-escalate. And it models the regulation skill your teenager's prefrontal cortex hasn't finished building yet. For parents, Protocol 2, the non-personal reframe. Before responding to an outburst, silently ask yourself one question. Is this actually about me, or am I just the safest place for this to land? In the overwhelming majority of cases, it's the latter. This isn't about excusing the behavior. Boundaries still matter, and calm conversations about respectful communication still need to happen. But addressing it from a place of, "I understand this wasn't really about me," produces dramatically better outcomes than addressing it from a place of personal offense. For teenagers, Protocol 1, name the discharge. When you feel that irritation rising the moment you walk through the door, try naming it internally before it becomes external. "I'm not actually mad at my mom. I'm exhausted from holding it together all day, and this is the first safe place to let it out." This single sentence engages your prefrontal cortex, the exact system you need to strengthen. And research on emotional labeling consistently shows that simply naming an emotional state reduces its intensity measurably, even without doing anything else. For teenagers, Protocol 2, the 2-minute buffer. Before walking through your front door, take 2 minutes, sitting in a car, on a porch step, or putting on headphones for the final stretch of your commute, to consciously release the mask you've been wearing all day. A few slow breaths, a brief moment of not performing for anyone. This creates a small transition space between the emotional labor of your day and the vulnerability of home, reducing the pressure that would otherwise detonate the moment you walk inside. Here's what both of you need to hear together. The explosion at the front door was never a verdict on how much your teenager respects you. It was never proof that your relationship is broken. It was proof of exactly the opposite. Every other relationship in your teenager's life requires a version of them curated for survival, composed, agreeable, performing acceptability for people who could withdraw their care in response to a single bad moment. Home is the one place that doesn't require the performance. That is not a flaw in your relationship. That is the entire point of it. And for the teenager watching this, the guilt you feel after losing your temper with the person who deserves it least, that guilt is not evidence that you're a bad person. It's evidence that your prefrontal cortex is doing exactly what a developing brain is supposed to do, catching up a little late to the damage the amygdala already caused. Neither of you is broken. You're both operating exactly as your biology predicts you would. One system still under construction, one system exhausted from a full day of holding everything together, and one relationship secure enough that the nervous system trusted it with the mess. The goal was never to stop the mess from ever landing here. The goal is learning what to do in the few seconds after it does. That's not something either of you fails at by accident. It's something you build together, on purpose, one difficult evening at a time.